This is the Christian Circle podcast, and you're listening to Pamela Fernandez, where we have conversations about Christian living. Here's the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Christian Circle podcast. Today we have Charles Johnston, who's come back again after a while, and he's going to talk to us about the 7th Commandment, thou shalt not steal. So, Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself and your ministry first.
My name's Charles Johnston, and I live in the United States. I'm a recent, I say recent convert, but I think it's been about 7 years now, to the Catholic Church from evangelical Protestant, and I have a website where I occasionally post things now that I'm Catholic.com, and just really enjoy discussing basically all things Catholic.
So today we're talking about the commandment, thou shalt not steal. So in brief, just tell people, what is this commandment in the first place?
Well, it's one of the 10 commandments, the Decalogue, and it really, the first several commandments relate to our relationship with God, and then the next, the second group is our relationship with our fellow man, and it really is a respect for other people's properties, a respect for what people are owed, not just what you agree to pay them or what you agree to give them or what you agree to, but what they're owed by justice. It covers a lot more than what you think about on the surface. So it's actually pretty, just like anything in the Bible. It's easy, it can seem easy to understand on the surface, but it goes.
So what's wrong with stealing actually? Because we are called to be stewards of everything. All our possessions come from God, and God has given them to us. So we have a right to everything on this earth, right? If we are stewards, what's wrong with stealing something that does not belong to us?
Right. Well, something that, like I said, you're supposed to respect the private property of others. So by stealing something that doesn't rightfully belong to you, it isn't yours by, however means you came to acquire, as long as it was, lawful and moral means. So if I steal something from someone and then you steal it from me, it really technically wasn't even mine to begin with. It's stolen property. So it's something that someone has a lawful and moral right to have, to possess. Taking it from them violates their dignity as a human person, really. And it's not just something they possess, it's something they have the right to. So if someone has a right to something and you don't give it to them, then that itself is theft too. It says in I think it's in Mark, that a laborer is owed his wages. So, you have someone work for you and then you don't pay them. You technically didn't steal money from them because, it wasn't in their possession to begin with, but you didn't pay them. And they were owed that by, justice demands you pay your workers. So you're stealing from them. So that's why, it just violates the dignity of the human person to take what is rightfully theirs.
So what are the ways that some people steal? Now, there are, there's tax fraud, there's misusing stuff at work. I mean, these things happen all the time. And we think, okay, well, we're trying to save, or we're trying to just, get by. So what are the small ways that we are stealing, but we don't realize that this is a sin?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like anything with your faith, the more you read into it, the more you dig into it, the deeper, the more you realize it kind of expands your horizon, I remember the first time I went to confession, the examination of conscience that they gave us in my parish, it had it was based on the 10 commandments, so it had all 10 commandments kind of broken down into bullet. And I thought to myself going in, well, I've only really that I can think of, I've only really broken maybe 2 of the commandments, I've obviously never worshipped other gods, and I've obviously never killed anyone. There was these, these big bright lines, I know I've never done that, but then it breaks it down, the worship another God's part. Have you ever placed anything ahead of your relationship with God? And the killing part has more to it than just literally murdering a person, and the same with stealing too. When it broke down the stealing, I was like, wow, because I thought I've never stolen any. I've never walked into a store in my entire life, picked something up and walked out. Without paying for it. I actually did one time when I was a kid, and I got all the way into the mall and I realized I had it and I panicked and I turned around and ran all the way back to the store and put it, because I thought there was going to be cops waiting for me at home. But I've never intentionally taken anything from a store in my entire life. And so I thought, well, obviously I've never stolen anything. Then I go through the breakdown, this examination of conscience, and I actually had stolen lots of things. I'd stolen time. I'd stolen, basically doing, proper, work for your money. You're supposed to, if you agree to do a certain job and you agree to a certain price, well, that person owes you that price. And if they don't pay it to you, then they're stealing from you. But also you can steal from them by, just kind of slacking off on the job or by not doing what you agree to do. You're stealing from them because they're still going to pay you that price at the end of the job, whatever it is. If you agree to $10 an hour to work at a fast food restaurant, or if you're a contract, to a freelance contract, whatever it is, by not keeping your obligations and your contracts that you agree to, you're stealing from that person. And it goes both ways. The employers steal from the employees, or the employees can steal from the employers. So there's little things like that by not doing the best you can and like trying your best and actually, giving it all, your effort, you're stealing. And that was shocking to me because, like I said, that was one of the easy ones. Stealing and murder. I was like, I've never done either of those.
Yeah.
But in reality, we've all stolen, like you said. Like there's little things, and little things, even if it's not grave matter. Because as Catholics, we believe that a sin, to be a mortal sin, has to be grave matter. So it has to be something serious. Has to be grave matter. Has to be intentionally done. Has to be done with full conscious, full knowledge that it's grave matter, and it has to be like full conscious, full submission of the will. You can't be forced into it or anything. So something like you realize you got the wrong change at the store, and you're 5 miles down the road, and it's a difference of like 25 cents. Is it really worth it to turn around and go back to give them a quarter? No, probably not. You discover that they gave you $100 too much in change. Well, then, then we're thinking, maybe you should turn around and go back. Yeah. So, but it's the little things, and you let the little things slide, and little sins, little venial sins, they add up, and they make you predisposed to commit larger sins. And it's like that in every sin. Whenever we commit it, that's why they tell us, you don't have to confess venial sins, but you should, because little sins, it's not just for Catholic confession too. It applies to Protestants too. And we can see it happen in our own lives. You do little things and you become numb to the little things. Yeah. Eventually, the little things become medium things, and medium things become big things. And next thing you know, you're doing something you would have never imagined yourself doing a month, a week, 6 months ago. So it does add up. And there's little things we do. When you're aware of it, you see it more. And when you realize and you stop, and that's why it's helpful to do an examination of conscience, if not nightly, then at least, weekly, to think like where it's better to do it nightly, because I don't know if anyone else is like me, I forget, but the next day I can't remember what I done the day before, like anything. So you do that examination of conscience, and you really stop and think like, where did I kind of fall short today? Where can I improve, with the help of God, obviously, and where can I kind of grow, to further this, life, trying to live a life of holiness. Obviously, that's what we're all called to.
And I think before any examination of conscience, they always say, you ask the Holy Spirit to show you what exactly where you failed, and He will show it to you and show you much more than you want to see.
Definitely. Yeah. You just Google examination of conscience, and I like the ones based on the 10 Commandments, but you Google them, and almost all of them, your Google page will be filled with all, results. Almost all of them start out with a short prayer of, like, enlighten my heart, oh Lord, shine a light here, because Christ, is the light of the world, and the light shines in the darkness. So shine that light in my heart. Let me know, point out to me what's wrong. Because there's things now, 7 years in, or 7 years in, that there's things now that I've been, working on different parts of my life and trying to like have God enlighten me, like, where do I need to change? Where do I need to grow? Where do I need to, and there's things that now bother me, never used to bother me before, things I could have went and never even noticed. And Trent Horn sometimes calls it like a pebble in your shoe. You can walk with a pebble in your shoe for a little bit, but after a while, it really starts you start to notice it, and then it starts to bother you, and then it starts to hurt. It's kind of this progression. So at first you might not even notice it, but then it starts to notice it, then it starts to hurt, and then you have to get rid of it.
So let's say now somebody realizes, okay, they've stolen, okay, whatever it may be, they realize it. What do they do? Not just in terms of spirituality, but what do they do with the stolen goods?
Right. In the Catechism, it tells us, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, under the chapter on the 7th Commandment, it tells us that you have a duty to make restitution. So if you've stolen, I remember Scott Hahn would talk. He after he converted, he realized some of these different things, and he realized he had stolen a bunch of records I don't know if it was like he borrowed them and didn't return them, or if he actually stole them as a child or whatever it was. And he was saying how he didn't know, like, what are you supposed to do? I don't have the records anymore. This is 40 years ago. And he ended up sending like a check, $100 to the record store, in the town that he lived in. And that was like his idea of how to make restitution. And you don't even have necessarily, like, some people are like, if you go to confession, you confess to stealing something, the priest will tell you, you really should make an effort to make restitution. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to get yourself in trouble. You could, anonymously mail the money to them, or the item that you took, or whatever it is. But you really should make an effort to make things right, because you took something from someone. So someone's injured. So even though God will forgive your sins, it's just like the analogy you always hear about the kid, breaking the window with the baseball. Their parents forgives them, but then that window will get fixed probably out of their allowance money, or the kid will have to fix it himself. Something has to be done to make things right. So you really do, you're bound to, you're duty bound to make some sort of restitution.
So apart from confession, they should give back or somehow pay back the money.
Yeah, I think so. Like, if you get the wrong change, you should definitely, it's best if it's immediately done. But if you realize it later on, like if someone gave me, like I said, if it was less than $1, I probably am not going to, But if it's a few dollars, $5, $10, and somewhere you regularly go, just, next time you're in there, remember to say, like, hey, by the way, or if it's somewhere you don't regularly go, maybe turn around and go back. But something like that, make an effort to give it back as soon as you can, or as soon as you remember to.
So on the flip side, what do you do if you realize that somebody has stolen from you?
Right. Well, I guess it depends on what, what they've stolen. The best thing probably would be to confront them about it. If you have an employee that's not really, you agreed to pay them a set wage for X amount of work, and they're not performing the work, you got to confront them and say, hey, listen, you owe me the labor that I'm paying you for. Or, if someone took something from your home, you confront them. But, they owe it to you to, just like you owe it to them, they owe it to you to make restitution. If they refuse, then, Jesus said, if your brother wronged you, to take it, don't take one person to them and then take two, you kind of escalate it. So it's best always to confront someone on a one-on-one basis first before you take it a further step.
Although it's not that simple, right, in the real world. And then
No, especially if you actually got robbed, if it isn't just someone that took something.
So what advice do you have for people who are struggling with this commandment? Any last thoughts on thou shalt not steal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is. It's something that you got to consciously think about, like I said, because it isn't always obvious. It isn't always merchandise from a store, or something from someone's home. Sometimes it is, and it's stealing, something that's owed to somebody. Sometimes it's stealing time. There's a lot of different ways it can go down. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
But, it's something you got to really think about and kind of be conscious about, and like realize and watch out for, that would be my advice. It's something you got to kind of guard yourself against, because we can all slack off,
Yeah.
There's, what is that? One of the 7 deadly sins, acedia. It's like not doing what you're supposed to be doing,
Okay,
So,
great. So
keep an eye for it.
where can people find you online, and tell them about your book?
Yeah. You can find me on nowthatimcatholic.com, and my Facebook page of the same name. And the book I wrote is called The Beauty of the Mass, Exploring the Central Act of Catholic Liturgy.
Great. And are you on social media? We don't see you much on Twitter. I don't see you much on...
No, I don't really. Twitter seems to be kind of, I don't know. Twitter, you get into more arguments than any other social media, it seems like. So I was trying to stay off it as much as I can, but every so often I find myself on it. I know it seems to be the most vitriolic of all the social medias. But I'm on Facebook too. That's what I'm on mostly, Facebook and Instagram. And you can find me on there mostly.
Okay, great. So thank you, Charles, for talking to us about this commandment, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you, Pamela. Hope to hear from you soon.